Today, I want us to think about the brain, brain anatomy. Now, another name for brain is encephalon, but because we are focusing on matriculant, a brain in this manner will be just okay. The best thing to learn something in an biology is to draw it. How do we draw a brain? How can we start in drawing a brain? A simplified diagram of a brain will be something like this. This is a simplified diagram of a brain. So someone will ask a question now, what is this? This is a cerebrum. The entire component of this large area of the brain is a cerebrum. We're going to have our brain stem somewhere around here. Our brain stem is divided into three components. And then it will be later be continuous with the spinal cord. But we understand that 1, 2, 3, this is our brain stem. What is the name of this component? The first one. The first one is our midbrain. What is the name of our second component? This one will be our pons. What is the name of our last component? This one it will be our medulla oblongata. This one it will be our spinal cord. The continuous process is our spinal cord. But what is the division between a spinal cord and a brainstem? Here, there is a division here. What is the name of this division? It's actually a hole that allows the information of a spinal cord to penetrate through the brainstem. The name of this hole is foramen magnum. This is the name of the hole that you find just before your brainstem, just before your spinal cord. This one is your spinal cord. This one is continuous up until to your vertebrae going all the way down. Here we have an area that is like this. What is the name of this area? This is your cerebellum. This area is your cerebellum. Now the question is this particular cerebrum component like this, or do we have some sort of division within this? We do have divisions. What is the first division that we have? We have a large component here. And then we have our medium component somewhere around here. Do you see that we have four, we call these lobes, we have four brain lobes. This is in the front, this is at the back. So now the question is, what is the name of this one? This it will be your frontal lobe. This one is your frontal lobe. What is the name of this one? The middle one. This one is your parietal lobe. What is the name of this one? This one is occipital lobe. Occipital lobe. What is the name of this one just above your ears? This one. This is our temporal lobe. Temporal lobe is this one. So now we understand we have our midbrain, we have our pons, we have our medulla oblongata, we have our brainstem. Our brainstem is divided into three categories, which it will be our midbrain, our pons, and our medulla oblongata. And then we have our cerebellum, we have our occipital lobe, we have our cerebrum, we have our parietal lobe. Cerebrum is the core component of the large brain. But somewhere around, let me rather use another color to demonstrate that one. Somewhere around here, we have an area. Somewhere around here, we have a useful area. Let me finish first with the frontal lobe. What is this one that is useful that we find within the existence of our frontal lobe? This one is our frontal eye field. Frontal eye field. This one. What is this one? This is your broca's area. The name of this is your broca's. I will tell you the function of this on this particular lecturing. I will not leave you like that. Broca's area, right. Here we're going to have our division between the frontal lobe just before you overlap to your parietal lobe. We do have a component that is quite useful. This component is divided into two areas. We have our lower body, lower body. We have our upper body. They should be like that. That is not a mistake. What is the name of this area? This is our motor cortex. This is our motor cortex. Motor cortex. This one. But we do have another division here, just at the existence of our parietal lobe. Our division will be divided again into two. This one it will be your lower body. There is a reason for this. I will explain why. This will be your upper body. Right. Now, what is the name of this one that exists within the parietal lobe? This one is your sensory cortex. This one. We know, let me just divide this thing clearly so that you can understand them quickly. This area will be the area that divides your frontal lobe and your parietal lobe. This particular red highlight in the middle here. This, by the way, this is a sulcus, but when it is like this, we call it is a central sulcus. This particular red lining in the middle of this larger cerebrum, larger area of your brain. This one, from the red line going forward, it will be your frontal lobe. Going backwards, it will be your sensory cortex. Now here we have another useful area. So what is this? I'll just write it down for you so that you can see. Vernix area, we find it here. We are just doing the labeling right now, and then we'll do the physiology in no time. There is another useful area here. So we have our vernix area. Another name for vernix, it will be our posterior speech generation. Another name for Broca's area, it will be our anterior speech generation. Now we do have the labeling of a basic anatomically simplified diagram. Let's go to the physiology of this brain. Let me just color the brain stem a little bit, just the cerebellum. Allow me to start illustrating this particular anatomical structure. There is no substitute in drawing your own image. As I always say, you can draw your own also, it's fine. Occipital lobe. The word occi means side, has to do with the vision. So we understand that you will capture the image with your cornea. It will get to a little bit of indentation called fovea centralis, and then it will get attached to the retina. Retina will transport the image as electrical impulse towards your occipital lobe. So the image will be captured with your eye, but this is where vision is generated. For you to understand what you have captured is because of the occipital lobe. The entire process of the optic nerve is to take the light from your eye, the image from your eye, and to store the image towards your lobe. This is where you see. This is where you understand the image. This is where you see any image that you recognize. You will remember that image because of this part of the brain called occipital lobe. Right? Now we come here. Vernix area, this particular area here, not the entire parietal lobe component, but this area. This area has to do with a posterior speech generation. This will make you, as I'm teaching now, for you to understand what I'm saying is because of Vernix area. This gives you the understandings of the speech that is coming towards your particular temporal lobe, because this is where you hear. Temporal lobe, this is where you hear. Particularly this one, we call it is this area is your temporal lobe. This particular spot here is your auditory area. Auditory area will get the sound from outside atmosphere through your ear. There is what we call is auditory canal that will be bringing waves towards your brain, and then through the tympanic membrane, that is the ear now, trying to give you the sound, and then the sound will come to the part of your brain called temporal lobe. In temporal lobe, there is high sensitivity of sound in auditory area, but this particular auditory area will not understand the interpretation of sound. The sound later will go to Benning's area. This is where you will have the meaning of the sound. This is where the speech of what you have heard it will be generated. This area is your parietal lobe. Within the parietal lobe, you have your sensory cortex. Sensory cortex is responsible for everything that you can feel. Anything that you can feel, whether it is hot, whether it is cold, it is warm. This is the area of your brain that you'll use to feel it. Why did I write lower body and upper body? Only this area in the middle going up towards the surface of the brain is high sensitivity to feel things that are taking place in your lower body, meaning that from your waist to your toe, this area will be responsible to feel anything that is taking place there. This particular upper body is things that will be taking place from your waist to your head. This is where this area is highly sensitive for that kind of area. This is where you sense everything that is taking place. Now I'm moving towards my frontal lobe. Frontal lobe is divided into, I can say, three components, because the first thing that we have our motor cortex. Motor cortex is where the movement of the body is initiated. This is where the movement is facilitated. For you to move your body, you need to use this frontal lobe, this area that we call it a motor cortex, enabling you to have a thought of standing up and going somewhere. Is because of motor cortex. But motor cortex is also divided into two components. You will see you have a lower body and the upper body. For you to move the body in the lower area, meaning that from your waist to your toe, you'll use this area. This highly sensitive to move the lower part of your body. This one is highly sensitive to move the upper part of your body. For me to move my neck around, what is responsible is only this area, because it's sensitivity of the upper body. It's responsible to make me to move my upper body. But what I will need to move my lower body is this area. All these things, we call it is motor cortex. This is where the movement of the body is initiated. For you to move, movement is generated and facilitated here. Within the existence of our frontal lobe, we have frontal eye field. This little area here, we call it is our frontal eye field. This area is responsible for you when you read. You can move your eyes without moving or shaking your head, only moving your eyes because of the muscles that you find in your eye. This area is responsible for that. Moving, this is intrinsic into the muscle that enable the movement of your eyes, not the movement of your neck and head, only the movement of your eye. Think about you watching television at the same time you can read those subtitles down there. It's because of this frontal eye field. This is situated inside your frontal lobe in your brain also. Now we have our Broca's area here. Now someone can ask a question, what is this Broca's area? This is quite simple. Broca's area is where your brain will turn the speech into a thought. How is that going to happen even? Now, for you to say this is a marking pen is because of this Broca's area. Now, when you even forget to remember this you will be waiting for this party to respond to give you a positive result to say this is a pen. This area we use it to remember things, but this is not where the movement of your lips get articulated. This cannot move your lips. Your lips will be moved here. in your motor cortex. That is where the general movement of the body is initiated. But the thought of what you want to say, it will be the responsibility of a broadcast area here. But for you to understand when I'm speaking to you, it will be of the Venix area here. This is where speech generation is being gathered. This one is the posterior speech generation center. This you'll understand and interpret sound. But for you to answer me back, you will need the broadcast area to give you thought of what you want to say. But before these two can work, we rely 100% on our auditory area to give us sound, so that the sound we can take it into concept of the Venix area. Venix area will convert the sound into meaningful uh, words. And then for you to utter those words, those thoughts, for you to answer me back in a positive way, you need the broadcast area. It's situated inside your frontal lobe. Now we go down. Here we have our midbrain. We have our brainstem. The first thing that we come across in our brainstem, it will be our midbrain. After our midbrain, we have our pons. After our pons, we have our medulla oblongata. Let me just put little dot to ensure that. Midbrain is responsible for you to give you a position of circumstances of what is happening around you. Let's say you hear the sound of a car, it is a hooter or something. What will turn your neck is the midbrain, because the impulse of the motor cortex will come and work in hand with the midbrain, and then so that you can accommodate a certain situation, so that you can see that the car is towards me, you must move away from the road. The midbrain is responsible to work hand in hand with the motor cortex, because the electricity impulse of the motor cortex, it will come and do its attachment here. This is also a component of the motor cortex. Now, the pons, what is happening within the existence of a pons? The pons will allow you to sleep, will also help you to wake up, and then will regulate the breathing pattern for you. This is the work of a pons. Now, this one have a quite lot of function, medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata, it has a lot of functions. Right. Number one, we have a cardiac center. This is where the heart rate is being controlled. Number two, we have our respiratory center. This is where the breathing canal, the respiration is being controlled. Number three, we have our vasomotor center. That is where now the blood pressure of your vascularity is being controlled. And then we have our reflexes also here. This is where medulla oblongata is also responsible to tell you to swallow when you are eating something. It's also responsible to make you vomit if your abdominal structure gets irritated. Medulla oblongata is also responsible for you to sneeze. It's also responsible to make you cough. This is just a generalized brain anatomy. This particular brain can accommodate matriculant, and then with this particular brain, there is no way that you can fail. This is, it can be your left or your right hemisphere of your cerebral brain, but this particular, there is what we call is a hippocampus that join the right and the left brain hemisphere. But that one is the inner part of the brain. I was just labeling the cerebrum together with the cerebellum and the brainstem. Don't forget, this is foramen magnum. This is actually a hole. This one, it will be continuous with the spinal cord becoming a vertebrate and so on. This is just what I have for you for brain until we do the part two. Thank you for watching.